So let's talk Kundalini and sexual arousal. Yeah, this video is part two of my most popular video, which I think is entitled Kundalini, Sexual Arousal, something like that. Anyway, this is kind of like part two, um, that is the why. Why are we experiencing this, what we feel is sexual arousal? When Kundalini or we're in meditation, what might be the cause of this feeling inside of us? I don't know if what came to me is correct, but it was quite an interesting aha to me, like, oh, this is at least in part of what might be going on. And it has to do with the vayus, which are the vayus are our pranic bodies. We have we have 10 different pranic areas, but there are five major pranic areas. And I've got to scoot back here. I'm a little too close to the computer. Um, yeah, this insight came to me several months ago, and I'm just now getting to do the video. And I think, yeah, it makes sense to me that in part, this could be the reason why we're experiencing some sexual arousal. We call it sexual arousal, but I think what we're feeling is a flow of energy in our nether regions. And because we're so used to going the pleasure route, or we're taught that this is a sexual thing and we're to go out there and procreate or have pleasure, that we think of it as sexual arousal rather than the creative life force being active in us, like the cosmic life force is bubbling up inside of us. Anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah, so I think it has to do with the vayus, or these pranic bodies. And I'm just going to talk about a couple of them, but we have, well, I have to describe them to you, don't I? So there are five major vayus, pranic sections in our subtle body. The belly one is called apana, and they move in different directions. And the belly or apana pranic body is supposed to be a downward flowing energy, right? And that's to help us with excretion and grounding and releasing and all that sort of stuff. While I won't talk about the solar plexus just yet, that's called samana. That's a particular prana. That's another pranic body. But I'm going to skip to prana. This is we're used to hearing the word prana, that it's about our breath and the prana and our vital force. But pranic body is really our heart area. It's just one of the five major pranic bodies, or major vayus, really, and it's called prana, and it's an upward moving flow, as well as udana, which is up here, shoulders and up, and it's also upward moving. And then we have vayana, which is an all around pranic body. Yeah. So where am I going with this? I'm being kind of silly. I'm not used to doing videos. It's been a long time, and I'm not used to talking about stuff that I know, spiritual stuff. So I'm being a little silly. Yeah. So anyway, when we get into meditation, so let's just see, in our everyday life, we are not breathing correctly, right? And how these vital force bodies are supposed to be moving, should be moving at all times, is apana in our daily life, what we're just doing things. Apana should be, we should be breathing appropriately, deep breaths, breathing well, but we're not, right? We don't breathe very well. We're just busy, busy, busy. We don't breathe a lot. But the bodies are supposed to be flowing, the one going downwards and the rest flowing upwards and around, right? That would, if we were going through life breathing correctly or remembering to breathe. So what happens is, in our daily life, we're not really breathing, we're kind of clenched up. And those bodies, those areas are not, and those areas house, are the holders of the nadis or the channels or the potential for the channels, right? Those nadis, channels of energy are the pranic flow, right? The electrical connections are not always flowing. In fact, they're not always there. They're only there when when our bodies are breathing correctly. I'm probably not saying this correctly, but if we are not breathing and we're tensed up and we're just, our normal daily life, those energetic connections, those channels, those nadis don't exist. They only exist when we are breathing correctly and everything is kind of in homeostasis and we're through the breath, right? It is the breath that creates the channel and connects all these nadis. And so when we are in meditation or sitting in contemplation and we're focusing on our breath and we're giving this body life, then what happens is suddenly all the little channels in each of our bodies start lighting up, right? And they start connecting. And so what happens initially, so in meditation, and this is why we would feel like a sudden burst of heat. We start feeling movement, right? Because not only are those channels opening up and we're getting like, and this is why we feel like, ooh, we're expanding, right? Because the channels are coming back online and they're connecting and things are flowing, right? Not only that, but also the pranic bodies are beginning to move in a way that they are supposed to. So for the belly or apana pranic body, if it was all tight and clenched and we weren't breathing, and then suddenly we go into meditation and it's supposed to be a downward flowing energy, then it starts flowing downward, right? So we get like an ocean movement. It starts opening up from the belly and it pushes downwards, and we're like, ooh, I feel a little something in my and you might feel a little energy and tingling in your lower area. Same way, we start breathing correctly, we're in meditation and everything starts opening up, and we start feeling expansive, we start feeling energy, and then we start feeling like, oh, we're getting Kundalini movements or Kriyas. That those are actually, or our head starts moving, we start getting jumps like this. That's actually the pranic bodies opening up, those channels beginning to work, and it's like it's untwisting itself out so that you can be in your natural, expanded, no boundary state. Okay. So initially in meditation, we are feeling the opening up and flowing, the downward and the upward at the same time of those pranic bodies. But the longer we stay in meditation, the opposite begins to happen, or eventually it will happen. And what happens, oh, my eye just started twitching. Well, that's annoying. And this is where you want to get in meditation. So initially you might feel this stuff and get a little tingle and it's moving downwards, but hang in there, stay in meditation long enough. Because what needs to happen with those pranic bodies is they need to, as you do your breath, suddenly what happens is apana will switch course. It was first going downwards and prana was moving up. They were going like this, right? But when you stay in meditation long enough and they're moving this way, right? And you stay in meditation long enough. Sorry, I'll get to the point. Then what happens is samana, which is the solar plexus pranic body, which is the most important, begins to do its work. And it starts, instead of them going this way, opposing forces, it starts drawing these two different forces together into the solar plexus. So apana flowing downwards past your genitals down to the ground starts rising up and curling inwards into your solar plexus. And I think it is that rising back up and curling into your solar plexus is what creates a little bit of the tingle, that sexual energy. As you start feeling that tingle, because it's the opposite flow. It's flowing back up and coming back into samana, and prana is now being pulled down into samana. And this is yoga. When they say, yoga is union, and you think it's union with the divine, actually yoga means is the union of these two pranic bodies into samana, which creates heat and pressure. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. Heat and pressure, which ignites Kundalini, or it brings everything into the central channel. This is when your breath starts to slow down or stop. It's both of those forces are coming together. They're being pulled into the solar plexus. And at the same time, Kundalini at the base is saying, ooh, I'm getting the right amount of heat and pressure in that central channel to where I can push, and I can have enough pressure and heat to push out of the base chakra and rise up into the central channel. And I think that is what causes that little tingle that we feel is sexual energy, but it's actually Kundalini is the cosmic creative force. So what we're feeling is like one little iota, if you can imagine the original cosmic rumble, right before that creative force where it wanted to explode out. That's what we're feeling. We are actually feeling cosmic creative energy. And that's why they say, don't orgasm, don't ejaculate. You're wasting cosmic creative energy. So that sexual energy, we just call it sexual, but it's actually creative element, creative force of the universe. And I feel like you could utilize, instead of getting sexually aroused and seeking pleasure, what could you do with that creative energy? Sure, I mean, the goal is to release Kundalini, right? But you could also create, manifest with that energy. What could you do if you implanted intentions in that energy? I don't know if any of what I'm saying is valid, but I'm just thinking that energy is so powerful. That's the creative energy of the universe that we're, like, wow. Now I'm probably not making sense. I probably sound like I'm a little high, but I'm not. But yeah, that's what I was saying about yoga is it's yoga. Union is the tool. It's not the goal. We want to reach yoga in our meditation, which is union of apana and prana being pulled in by samana. So it's belly, base, and heart being pulled in together into the solar plexus. That's union. That's the tool. And at that point, when our breath has slowed down, we've entered into our central channel, our central beingness, then actually the goal of yoga is separation. But it's through union of those two pranic bodies that come together. And then, as everything slows down, then suddenly in your meditation, you're like, oh, I'm in space. All I see is this darkness and little twinkling things. I'm in space. I'm not the body. And that is the goal of yoga. Now I'm kind of going off topic, but it's all related, right? But I think that is in part, at least in part, the cause of what we call that sexual tingling when we're in meditation. Is it is that at first, it's the pranic bodies relaxing, going into their normal mode, which is one downward, the others upwards. And we're kind of getting like, ooh, a relaxation, a tingle, some heat. Our bodies start moving because they're expanding, all the nadis are lighting up and going together. And that's why, of course, things come up in meditation, like pains and hurts and emotions, because if a channel is blocked, you're going to know about it, right? So your body starts twisting out. And then if you stay in meditation long enough, things settle down in these pranic bodies. And it's like, okay, now you're in it. Now you're letting go. You're letting the mind go. Now we can pull you into the central channel, and the one that was going down can come up, and the one that was going up can come down, and they can meet, and we can all merge in the central channel, and we can create. We can awaken consciousness. We can awaken Kundalini within. We can create something beautiful through this vehicle. So, yeah, that's just my theory. I have no idea if it's true, but it feels sort of like a great possibility. Okay, until next time, bye.